posted on our local government center website as well as MACo's website for future reference. And since your chat, whatever you say in the chat will not be seen in the recording, we will ask the question and then have a response. So we know it's the responses are tied to. So with that, I think we're going to turn it over to Jason. Is that right? Okay. So we'll turn it to Jason and we'll start out with that. Uh-oh. Jason, you're on mute. Do I need to unmute you?
That better?
Yes, there we go.
I was not muted, but the owl was. All right. So as I was saying, I have a couple of broader Treasury direct allocation steps I want to walk you through, some guidance that we sent out just to make sure everybody got it. And then I think today we'll walk through some of the state stuff that just went live, including taking a look through the application, talk a little bit about the comments we're making that will go out, I believe, today. So that's sort of the batting order. If Eric has anything that he wants to throw in, you can do it now, Eric, or as we go.
I think the only thing I'd want to add is for those folks in Mar, Broadwater, Carbon County, take care of yourselves and your staff, and it's fire season early and everybody else is probably going to be just behind them. So, you're in our thoughts, and stay safe.
All right, with that, we're going to see if we can share.
Yes.
What are you guys seeing?
You got the screen, Jason, but it's just black.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, can you see that screen?
Yes.
Yep, good.
There you go. Now it's starting to look good, Jason.
How if I could just get all this junk out of my way so I can see what my titles are. What I'm looking for is the example that I have of the census data. Oh, hide them.
That down or something.
All right. Scratch that. So for revenue, for proving the census, I will have Chris email out the sample census questionnaire that went out in 2019 that was due in 2020. Your staff may have already completed this document. If so, that needs to be because Treasury is going to have access to that. So that would be your starting point for going back to fiscal year 2019 and figuring out your base year. And from there, we'll look and see if you've filed any more of these and use those categories to calculate your lost revenue. I'd hope to show you the categories, but apparently I'm not tech savvy enough to do it. The other piece of information I wanted to give you on the direct allocation was related to stormwater and our clarification after district meetings that culverts, in fact, would be an eligible use. So we've got both MACo concurring with our assessment that it would be eligible, and also the state of Montana and the DNRC program who handles the clean water drinking SRF program. So you should have all gotten some guidance related to stormwater and that culverts were an eligible expense. The caveats are, bidding requirements, procurement requirements still stand. Labor standards still stand, so prevailing wage. We are asking for clarification from labor as to whether we can use Montana prevailing wage or Davis-Bacon. We had assumed because they're federal direct funds that it would automatically trigger Davis-Bacon, but the state's given some guidance that it could be Montana prevailing wage. So we want to make sure we're on the same page. I've never seen federal funds that avoided Davis-Bacon, so this would be a first, but it's a little easier. You guys are more used to using Montana prevailing wage, so if we can go that route, we will get you that guidance. The state's dollars, the direct or the minimum allocation grants and the competitive grants are now up. So I want to go through, hopefully, the website that gets you there. So you go to the arpa.mt.com. It's going to get you into this. You go down, shows you who's on the commission. If you want questions to ask directly to the state, you can ask there. Both application processes are on here. Let's do the minimum allocation. Their guidance you can download. These are all the guidelines. I will tell you, and Eric will rail on this, and we will go through it when we go through the application. But they have eligibility criteria built in here that we don't think is necessary nor required from House Bill 632. So right here, it talks about a ranking process. That's not applicable for your minimum allocation. We've asked them to remove that. But in essence, everything they're asking, what's eligible under each, here's where your irrigation projects, I know I've had a couple of you ask about those, are listed. They're taking a broader look at it than we are, but irrigation is on their list. This is also where stormwater is at, where your culverts are covered. So if you're doing culvert project, you're looking at you're doing a sewer project. Back. And if you just want a quick list of what's eligible, you can just click right on these and it gives you a drop down of all of those general categories. So if you want to ask for your minimum allocation, see if I can get in here. Here's what they're going to ask for. So you're going to put your project title in. And I'm not going to type any of these because it's going to ask me to be a county. And if I do that, then one of you is going to apply and you don't want me doing it for you. So you're going to put your title in. You're going to select minimum allocation grant. If you are doing a minimum allocation grant in conjunction with, then you click on the third one down there, pretty straightforward. Your applicant entity, it's just from a list, so you just, Beaverhead County's top of the list for here. Anaconda will have to do it as both, Anaconda and Deer Lodge County, I guess. Your authorized representative, this would be the person who would sign a contract with the state. We have in our comments asked them to take all the references to other contact people out. We think that that can be done in follow-up after they approve your award. If they want to know, who your engineer might be, then you can give that to them when or if you need an engineer and have one. Mailing address, city, a lot of this we think is not necessary, but they're making you put it in for now. Again, more authorized person information. Okay, your certification form. You will have to download this, sign it, scan it, and upload it. That's the process. There's no electronic signature on it. So you'll click here to download it, scan it back in, then click here to find it on your computer. Again, I probably shouldn't have testing patients in here anymore. It's me getting grouchy yesterday. More information about who they can talk to. Again, asking you for your city. If you're a county, we're telling them why are you asking about cities? Engineering firm, again, not necessary at this stage, but they're asking for it if you've procured. And then they want to know the name of your system, service area, population, income. We've pushed back. I think there's 22 steps. Correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but 22
steps.
We think are outside of the scope of what 632 wanted. And I mean, they want project location, latitude and longitude. You should just, it's in your county. Good enough. If they want us to supply some additional information in their reporting, as we report out on the expenditure of the funds, I might be a little bit more lenient, but as far as allocating and awarding them to you, they don't need it. Again, you're going to click on what type of water or sewer project you have. And then this is where I really get grouchy, but it's right now in here. They talk about 632 requiring applicants to clearly define the project outcomes, how they will achieve those outcomes, and how they will measure the effectiveness of their project. Nowhere in 632 that I can find under your minimum allocations does it say that, but maybe I missed it. If your project is eligible under the drinking water or the clean water SRF programs, you've met your match requirement, you've certified you're going to follow the ARPA rules and any state rules, you've given them a budget to prove it, that should be all they need. So we're going to push on that a little bit. I don't know if we will win, but as you can see, this starts to look more like an application than a request for funds. And it gets worse. Then they want to know if you have a CIP, growth policy, whether you've done your engineering, whether you've done a uniform application. For those of you that are familiar with the WAS Act uniform application, they want to know if you've done one of those. I would argue that nobody has to do one of those for either the competitive or the minimum allocation grants. Design, I mean, none of this is necessary, but they want to know at this point. So we're going to try and get that stripped out, but in the instance where you're wanting to get submitted, these are the hoops you have to jump through to get your money. You got a project schedule.
Jason, you glossed over the median household income, average sewer rate, and water rates as a requirement for all grant applications too.
Because it makes me mad. So they're going to ask you your median household income of your service area. I assume that's the county. If you're giving your money to the city, it would be the city. They also want to know your average water and sewer rates, which does, it's not going to apply to any county project pretty much. Again, making it look much more like what you would expect in a TSEP application or a water and sewer application to, frankly, the SRF program. We think they've overstepped their bounds. The language in 632 does call out an application. So if they push back, that will be their argument back. But frankly, this is way more than we would have expected in as far as hoops for you to have to jump through. So the comments are due, I think, today. We'll get those submitted over. I think we're waiting on President Martins to give us a green light on his signature, and then we'll get those submitted. But our comments are generally quit asking for so much information. We're happy to certify that we're gonna do it according to the rules. We're happy to do our reporting that you require. We can even get you a timeline to show we can get it done by the deadline of 26. But we really shouldn't have to submit anything more than that. Questions on the process for the minimum allocation application?
Jason, this is Paula, Teton County. So our cities and our water and sewer district have already asked for our minimum allocation because it can only go for sewer and water. Is that correct?
Technically correct, but you need to look at the definitions of sewer and water.
Okay.
Culverts are eligible as a stormwater.
So would we fill out the same application then if we're just allocating to a city or a town or a district? Water and sewer?
But yes, you would, fill out the application, and then right here it says local government, pick the appropriate entity for you, and then I think there is a spot where you say you are giving it to another entity.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'm not gonna be able to find that right now first because I'm looking for it. So if you go to the competitive and click on that, not a lot changes. If I'm scrolling, it can make everybody a headache, but I just want you to see that. Okay, so this is where it gets different. They start talking about commitments, matching funds, detailed budget, narrative. But again, all they're asking for is budget information and submit. You know, to me, the level of work increase to do a competitive one versus the money that's set aside for you, they just don't match up. So we'll see what we can do on that front. Go back to these guidelines really quick, Paula, so that you can see. The other thing that we've asked is for clarification on the match. If you have 5 projects, according to the way we're reading the guidelines, you would end up putting in 125% of what you're getting directly from the feds. We're not sure that was their intent, so we've asked for clarification as to whether just if you have a project that you put 25% of your direct allocation into, would the other projects be then exempt? I don't know if we'll win that argument, but we're asking. So Paula, right here under clean water, sewer projects, stormwater is eligible. Culverts have been deemed to fit within that category. So when they say water and wastewater are only eligible projects, that technically is true. But look at all the things you can do on here. Landfills. You have to look at the specifics of each one of these. Irrigation. Decentralized wastewater treatment, septic systems. So don't just assume that you only have the option of giving the money to your city or town to spend on their municipal water or sewer system. There are other areas where you may be able to use it to the benefit of the entire county's constituents.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll get this and really go through it and look it over really tight, so, but thank you.
Very well, Chris. Their deadlines follow the deadlines of, oh, one of the other things that came up this last week. You as counties did not have a deadline of June, whatever it was, 16th to submit for your allocation of funds. That was for the cities and towns that were non-entitlement, so everybody but Missoula, Great Falls and Billings, that the money from the treasury went to the state first. Your money is not going to the state first. You have an open window to ask for your direct funds. I will tell you this, the treasury rules indicate that from the day they approve your first request, they have a year to give you your second one. Doesn't say they will take the whole year, but they have a year. So keep that in mind as you, if you wait, you may be waiting a little bit longer on the backside next year to get your second tranche of funds. Any counties looking at doing a broadband application with their provider or in any other way?
Hill County is.
Have you engaged with a private provider or your co-op?
We've had quotes through our IT department. And it's just broadband in the courthouse, nowhere else.
Okay. I think that's okay. But I'd like to visit with you a little bit about that.
Okay, anytime.
So we're not gonna spend much time on communications and broadband until or if a county decides they want to jump into that. It is outside and separate from water and sewer. The way the statute reads, our authorization requires us to work through a local provider if we want to invest in fiber broadband. There are some other avenues by which you can invest your direct dollars in broadband directly to the benefit of public buildings, households, etc. And that's what I want to talk to you about, Hill County, is to make sure that we're going into that. And I don't know that you're going to fit in this tranche. But,
Hey, Jason.
Yep.
Ravalli is in beginning talks on broadband. Not anywhere near where we're ready to go, but it's something that I'm sure you'll need to discuss with especially Commissioner Chilcott.
Other questions at this point? Okay, so water and sewer competitive program. Applications due mid-July. First set. I think they've already announced that they will do another set at some point after that, but the first one for the competitive grant program, July, I want to say the 15th, but without looking. Yep, first round grant applications the 15th. That is different than your minimum allocation. So don't panic about having your minimum allocation figured out by then. We have a much larger window of time. You have any time between July 15th and January 1st. So again, back to the cities and towns had to ask for what is in essence their direct allocation by middle of this week, which hopefully they all did. You have to ask for your direct allocation from Treasury, which I know many of you are, and I hope that the rest of you will soon. Those dollars can be invested in an interest-bearing account. And the 2990 funds is where I would put those in for the clerks out there. I would not put it in the same number as your CARES Act. I would use a separate number. Then if you want to apply for competitive grants, July 15th is your deadline. If you just want to come in for your minimum allocation grant, you have a much larger window of time all the way into the end of 2022. So a year and a half, almost exactly. Pull up the certification form just so you can see what you're signing off on. Pretty simple. Makes you certify that it's a necessary investment. I think that's actually written in the rules, so they've stolen that language, even though I don't like it, and then that you'll follow 632. Health restrictions. Do we have any counties right now that have health restrictions that are more stringent than the states? I don't think we do. They are wanting documentation on this. I would like to reach out to them and say, this is no longer applicable and this checkbox ought to be enough rather than having to provide documentation. So print this, check the boxes, sign it, upload it, done. There we go. So this is the dashboard that the state has on their website. So Beaverhead County, that's what the state set aside for you. They have this for all of you. Your match required, if you were to ask for all 1.295 in one project, would be 459,000. They've got your population here. They've got your median household income. Again, why are they asking for it if they have it right here? But they are. If you want to get the
Jason,
yeah,
population.
yeah. Is that off?
Excluding your cities.
Including my cities, I don't make 10,000.
Excluding. That should be your, it should be.
I think it would include them.
County population estimate, man, they gotta have half of Ravalli County thrown in there.
They might.
Yeah, including Dillon, we're at 9,400 people.
Oh, that's pretty funny. I wonder how far off your median household income is too then.
According to the local government profile, Beaverhead County has 9,404 people as of 2018.
That's a lot of
So
COVID.
there's a population boom there.
I knew people were moving in here, but man. So work on that. I think because I've got that many more people, that 1.2 million ought to grow up to about 5 million.
You ought to get some more BARSA funds, some more ARPA funds. It's going to help you all the way around.
Every place.
It is interesting that that's the one that's up and it's so far off. So I haven't tried it, but I think you're supposed to be able to dive into this and get your latitude and longitude on a project. So for those of you that want to start the application before we argue with them, and in case we don't win the argument with them, this is how you're gonna get your latitude and longitude for your project. Come on.
Jason, can you hear me?
Yes,
So is this reimbursable? Because we're doing a culvert project down on the, next to the mussel shell. The culvert alone's a little less than 20,000. Is this reimbursable for that project? Because we already bought it.
so it all depends on the timing of it. If you bought it after March 3rd, then yes, would be eligible to reimburse either, if it's an eligible project, to either reimburse through your direct allocation or to put it in as part of a request to the state for the minimum allocation.
Okay, thanks.
So I put in my personal address and that is my house. But I don't see where it says what the Latin Lodge is. Anybody see that on the screen? Huh. Interesting. All right. I'll have to figure that out and maybe we can deal with that in 2 weeks. Or if anybody else figures it out first, let me know. But I don't see anything that says lat or lounge. It's,
Jason, in that right above where your address is, I see longitude in that yellow or blue square. See where I'm talking?
does it actually put the Latin Lounge in there or does?
I don't see it yet, but anyway.
If you have the coordinates, I think it.
What if you hit that zoom to when you have it? Does that pull it up then?
I did that the first time and it didn't. Out of market. All right, I give up. Clearly above my pay grade. What else do you want to talk about?
We've got a couple of questions in the chat box. And you may have addressed them already, but just to ensure that they are covered, would a stormwater issue on a county parking lot or county property stormwater upgrade be eligible?
Yes.
And the next one is, are these grants the grants that water sewer districts can apply for on their own, or does the county need to sponsor these applications on behalf of water sewer entities, districts, and private groups?
So if it's for your minimum allocation, you will be the applicant. And then you will behave like a grantor to them and be responsible for getting all of the paperwork, et cetera, that you need to give to your auditors. If it's for the competitive program, they can apply directly. They do not need you. And if you're going to give them any of your direct allocation, I would treat them like a grantee as well, and also have, you know, an interlocal agreement. I would do it on a reimbursement basis if you can. If not, I would do it after the invoices are presented and ask for proof of payment immediately prior to giving them additional dollars. You will want them to fill out similar certifications to make sure that you're not on the hook for money they spent. Any more?
That's all we have. Oh, here's one more. Does flooding basements in county building fall under stormwater?
If you are going to divert the stormwater outside the building, is it groundwater or stormwater is my first question. If it's truly stormwater doing it, I think you could, outside the building, make some improvements to divert the stormwater.
Interesting.
If it's groundwater that's leaching in, then that's a different question. Last time we met, we were directing you to the Treasury website and to the state website. I believe now Chantel has everything up on the MACo website, so you should be able to go here and get all or dang near all of what you need from, whether it's questions related to your direct funding or questions related to 632. So here's your link to get to the portal for your federal dollars. They still are asking for the biometric scan. For those of you that don't like that, no, that's still part of the deal. Here's your list of things they're going to ask for. Have those ready. So that's right there now in our website. The rules, NACo's analysis of the rules, Treasury's guidance. $632, all your state stuff. Here's your infrastructure grant. So you don't need to remember all of the different or web addresses anymore. We have everything here. I think Chantel's, now that she's caught up, we'll be able to upload any changes or additional guidance as it comes in pretty quickly. You want to read 632, link it here. Think. General explanation of the programs. So she's done quite a little bit of work on this to get it so you guys can have a good reference. I don't know why that's not linking. It did earlier. For those of you that are talking to your legislators about 632, when they complained that we complained, wanted to show you the language. Right here's what it says you have to submit to get your money. So they're going to calculate the amount based on Barca. To receive the money, you have to submit an application for a qualifying project, pledge your matching funds, and ensure that your COVID restrictions are not more stringent than the state's. They have taken this piece right here and turned it into what you saw a little bit ago with the application process. They should only require enough information out of you to make sure that you are going to complete an eligible project, period. Now, the competitive grants, I can't argue that they don't need quite a little bit more information so they can rank them against each other, but that is in a nutshell why we are pushing back on their requirements. I'm gonna search my tabs until I find that census.
You want to do another question, Jason? While you're looking? So we've got another question in the chat that says, our water district is asking for help. Can we determine how much of the bucket A and B we give and ask them to apply through the competitive for more, to the competitive process for more?
Yeah. Yes, you could. As a matter of fact, I would suggest you do. If you have other projects in the county that you also need to spend money on, I don't know why you would drop it all in one spot. And especially given that they are eligible to apply for that competitive piece. If you want to kick in some of your direct, if you want to kick in some of your minimum or some of both to help them, then that is your decision. If you want to tell them they just need to go to the direct or go to the competitive program and they need to come up with the match themselves, you can also tell them that. Excuse my emails here.
And I have a suspicion, Jason, that everyone has stopped listening to you as they're looking at the DNRC website trying to figure out what their population numbers are. So, yeah, it looks like Ravalli County's at 127,000 people, so they're all going to move over to Beaverhead County now, they say.
I see that Gallon's at 324,000 people, which is probably real.
It feels like it.
Jason, this is Jim. I have one question about the minimum allocation, I think is where it was that you indicated, and I've been told differently, but I believe you indicated that irrigation falls under the possibility of being funded.
Yes, it does.
So what kind of irrigation? I'm talking like an irrigation system on the golf course, but.
So the language talks about agricultural best practices. And then the state put in parentheses in their guidance, irrigation. And I think it was intended to catch the St. Mary's project, etc. I get a little bit nervous if we are just irrigating your golf course to irrigate it. If you are irrigating it with wastewater, or you are collecting stormwater and then pumping it to water to irrigate, I think we can make the nexus.
So here's how it is irrigated now. We take it out of the river into a canal. That canal is what provides water for various agricultural properties from where it comes out of the river all the way to McAllister, and in between is where the golf course is. So, but that's where the water originates, is from the river and from the canal.
So what are the upgrades that you need?
So it was built in 1982, and it's one system. It's one circular system. So if something goes wrong, you got to shut down the entire system, which means no water for however long it takes to fix it. We had problems 4 years ago where the water line was cut twice by a construction company, and we have had nothing but problems ever since.
So this is one where it makes me nervous. I think technically the way they worded it, I mean, it's not even ag use, so.
Right. That's okay. That's all I needed because I was told similar information by Great
Would put a lot of disclaimers on it. If I was gonna have you try it, I would ask you to submit an application to the state and see if what they said for your minimum allocation for a piece of it. I would not put up your direct allocation as the match. So you
Okay.
keep your direct allocation away from this project. You saddle the state with it if it's wrong.
That sounds appropriate. Thank you.
Other questions? Rivo County? Fallon County? So a couple of the projects that I've heard one county is going to give it to the municipality within their boundaries for a water project. We've heard of one county that's going to replace water and sewer mains to public facilities at the fairgrounds. What else do we have that people are thinking about doing?
There's one in the chat that says how about installing a more efficient irrigation distribution system at the fairgrounds and horse boarding area?
Boy, what they're looking for is water conservation, source point protection, groundwater protection, ag best practices, and I struggle to figure out how water. Now, if you need to replace the mains to get water into your fairgrounds, which is a public facility, then I think you're all right. But I wouldn't call that stormwater. Just call that water.
The only wiggle room that they have in the preliminary guidance is about water efficiency improvements or water system improvements. So again, I'd echo what Jason said. Talk with the folks at DNRC and see how they'd look at that. Talk with your auditors about whether that might be an allowable expense, but it's right up to the line of what I think was intended for irrigation and water projects.
But if you're going to do one that's right up to the line, sort of the way you could pull it off without risking having to pay back dollars yourself is don't put any of your direct money in it. Use general fund, if it's for a golf course, make the golf course pony up the match. If it's an irrigation district and you're not sure, make them come up with the match. But keep your directly allocated dollars untied from that project. Who is that that's sitting at the golf course? Billy Ann.
I'm not at the golf course. I'm at my house.
Looks like you can have a golf course in your backyard.
Good. I live on a ranch. My kid has the flu bug, so I I was up all night and working from home today, so sitting on the front porch.
Anybody else have?
There's another one in the chat. Because our Milk River levee protects both the city water plant and the wastewater plant, we are planning a project incorporating our SWIF documents for the levee. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could make the correlation to multiple areas that you could argue. Well, stormwater, water and wastewater, if they truly do. If the levee is failing and it does protect those two pieces of infrastructure.
I got one, Jason. So we have our cemetery, our well went dry, and so we were actually a large pipe to go from the irrigation canal. Could we use that for potential water use? Or connect to the city supply? Because the well at the cemetery basically is failing.
Do people drink that water?
At the cemetery, no. We could put a
Fountain up. Let's talk about that. My concern is, I mean, the cemetery is a public facility that you're putting water to, but it's sort of like the golf course scenario. You don't have anybody technically using it. It's not ag related. Start to get nervous. And Georgia, you have quite a lot of latitude in how you can use your dollars. So I think we can find a way. If we don't do that, we're certainly going to be able to use it other ways. All right, well, a couple minutes left. You want to throw any more questions out? Otherwise, I'll thank you. Sorry I was late getting on. Apparently our fiber to our building is not as great as we thought, and we're gonna have to use jetpacks to do this from here on out. So I will make a mental note to do that right away, so I'm not late.
Well, we appreciate you doing this, Jason, and keeping on top of this and being willing to answer these questions as they come through to you. So thanks for that. And thank you, everyone, for joining us again today. As soon as this gets rendered, the recording, we will send it on to MACo and our website. So probably later this afternoon, if you'd like to share that with someone that would like to have participated but was unable, they can either access this the link on our website or MACo's website for this event. With that, is there anything else for the good of the order before we go ahead and close out the meeting?
My ask is that you folks bring your questions with you. This is way easier for me if you're asking me questions than to me to try and figure out what you might have seen or not seen and what you might want to go through and what you might not want to. So the questions make my life much easier for getting you through this hour in a meaningful and in a way that helps you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.